Liberty is investing in sustainable solutions for the safe and reliable service our customers and communities rely on. Crafting a business plan for the future demands considering people, communities, and the planet, not just profit. We care about the environment. We're exploring new ways to help our customers use less energy, improve comfort, and save money. Supporting the communities we serve is a big part of our commitment to sustainability. We're committed to meeting your energy needs today without compromising tomorrow.
Welcome back, everybody. It's now my pleasure to introduce our moderator for the Tourism and Hospitality Roundtable. Carol Alderais is President and CEO of the Tourism Industry Association of New Brunswick. Originally from Tracadie-Shaila, Carol is fluently bilingual and has a varied background in marketing and communications with a little bit of IT added to the mix. She worked at Nortel Networks, headquartered in Brampton, Ontario, for 20 years in a variety of corporate and marketing positions. And for her last 10 years at Nortel, Carol was a senior manager responsible for sales, product line management, marketing, training, and implementation of Nortel's 911 integrated desktop solution across North America. She returned to New Brunswick in 2002 and worked with New Brunswick Tourism for 14 years as manager of web technology in industry communication. And we're very pleased to have Carol with us today to lead us in the roundtable discussion on one of the sectors that's been hardest hit by COVID-19, tourism and hospitality. Carol, over to you.
Thank you so much. I am very, very thrilled to be here with you today. I would like to invite our three panelists to share their experiences of living under the COVID umbrella for the past year. We are fortunate today to have with us two tourism-related entrepreneurs and the CEO of one of the region's largest hotel groups. Our first panelist is Jeff Appleton. Born in Moncton and raised in New Brunswick, Jeff has a long career in hospitality that started in the 90s in the car rental business. He entered the hotel business in early 2000 with the construction and development of numerous hotels in Canada and abroad. Jeff's career includes extensive experience in hotel, land, and multi-residential projects in Canada and in the US. He joined longtime friend Danny Murphy as CEO of the DP Murphy Group of companies in January of 2017 and is currently overseeing all operations at DP Murphy. So Jeff?
Good morning, thank you very much. And as you'd indicated, this segment is intended to discuss the hardest hit sectors. And hotels are certainly among the hardest hit, if not the hardest hit. While it's true that airlines, cruise lines, bus operators are getting a lot of the exposure in the media because they're publicly traded and they're things that we tend to use on a regular basis. The reality remains that very few, if any of them, are owned by individuals, families, or investor groups in our community. And in contrast, most hotels in New Brunswick and in Moncton have those very ownership structures. Some companies are suffering, but most are prospering, and that's not sour grapes, it's a reality. It's great that when the hotel and hospitality sector starts to recover, that our guests and consumers are going to be in a position where they have money to spend and are looking forward to getting back to those things. But the reality is that the hotel sector and the hospitality industry is at a very high risk of getting left behind. And we could do decades of damage in a year or two. The province of New Brunswick in Canada have promoted our destination as the world has become smaller, and we've certainly benefited in that. However, there is a lot of infrastructure at risk of failing and struggling as we go forward. Hotels, as many of you are aware, have a huge fixed cost. And just because the customers go away doesn't mean the costs do. Notably, debt service, property taxes, which unfortunately New Brunswick is amongst the highest in the country. And to put that in perspective, our property tax bills can be upwards of $500,000 per hotel. And yes, you heard that right. We have 7 hotels in New Brunswick. We pay just short of $3 million for the total of them. So that's a big one. Debt service, utilities, insurance, none of those can be turned off. So the pain is immense and there's no way to mitigate it. I know we'd asked to kind of keep on point here and focus on 4 different questions. The first one, as an entrepreneur, how did COVID-19 affect your business last year? That's a totally loaded question. And the short answer would be that it affected everything in our business. Starting the second week of May, the effects were dramatic, starting with the decision to close 9 of our 13 hotels in the Maritimes. And we laid off over 1,000 employees in 1 week. As the saying goes, hope isn't a plan, and we made the decision to take evasive action. And the last 11 months have proven that our quick action in March was the right decision, as painful as that was. To put it in perspective again, in our company, across our portfolio at that moment in time, last March, with the operations closed, we would have had open, but no guests. We would have it a $75,000 a day cash bleed. We were able to cut that by roughly 40% by mitigating where we could and doing everything that was possible. And again, remembering there was no playbook for this. We didn't have a reference point for it. We can talk about 9/11 or labor strife or anything else that's happened during our lifetimes, but certainly nothing like that. On an annualized basis across our portfolio, we're down in excess of 75% in revenue in our hotel division. And in the months since that time, there have been some bad ones. January was one of the worst. We were less than 10% occupancy during that time, with more lockdowns, red zones. And, obviously that's a struggle. What did we do to mitigate our circumstances? Well, we did dispose of some non-core assets. Perhaps worth noting, only 2 of those were in the Maritimes. The rest of them were outside of the region. So I think we're still highly committed. We believe that it will come back, and what doesn't kill us will make us stronger. What mechanisms did we use to cope with the circumstances? I'd like to say there was something that we did that was different, but it was pure survival instincts. I think everybody who operates in this space did what they had to do, and to varying degrees. We all have the same problem, but yet some of them were very different. Virtually overnight, we learned to do everything different, and that continues to evolve with everything from our customer-facing interactions, our operational challenges, right down to cleaning and laundry, all the way down to how we pay our bills and meet with each other as a team. So it's been a complete metamorphosis of what we do, and DP Murphy, we've been doing it a very long time. And who we were as a company a year ago in our hotel division looks very different than who we are and what we do today. Our biggest challenge right now is we haven't started to recover yet. Because of the government lockdowns and travel restrictions, we're here, we're ready to go, but nobody's hit that big green button to start the process yet. And it puts us at a distinct disadvantage to the rest of Canada. There's 2 bubbles in Canada, at least last summer. One had 33 million people in it, one had 3 million in it. There's no mystery to know which one did better. And I know that this is always a discussion that comes around healthcare and safety of citizens. And this is in no way suggesting that we didn't do a good job protecting our citizens, but in the process, we've created certainly some additional challenges for ourselves moving forward. One example of that, I read a recent article in the Wall Street Journal this week that, again, American numbers, so we can probably divide everything by 10, and as a rule of thumb, that math works. But they're suggesting that 4 million people in the hotel and hospitality industry have left the business and moved on, and maybe 3/4 of them are now working in other industries in daycare or whatever one you want to pick at. And that is certainly going to be a huge challenge for us going forward, is our staff are gone. We had massive cuts to our labor pool. Those folks have gone on, and how do we rebuild? We can't start hiring yet. We don't know when we're going to get started. But we know that every day that passes, we get a little further behind. There was an Atlantic News story earlier this week that a call center firm in Sydney is looking to hire 350 new people before summer. Well, guess what? That's probably where a lot of our people have gone. And how do we get them back? Because even pre-pandemic, there was a distinct shortage of frontline workers. These aren't, in some cases, the most desirable jobs. They were hard to fill before, so it is a huge area of concern going forward. One of the other big challenges that we're going to have to deal with here is consumer confidence. 50% of the people are ready to go now and chomping at the bit and can hardly wait to get at it. And the other 50% are weary. And it seems very clear at this point that government and corporate travel will be the laggards, conventions, meetings, big drivers of business, especially in the off season when there is not as much leisure travel there. So, those two things are big challenges: labor and customer confidence and consumers, and when are they going to come back to us? The final item that I want to touch on is, what do we need to do to achieve a full recovery? I think this started out as a story of we're all in it together. That quickly became not so much the case. There are winners and losers, and thankfully there are way more winners than losers. Banking, real estate, construction come to mind. And even to probably all of our surprise, retail has been relatively healthy. Services and restaurants, which we currently own and operate about 40 of them, have done amazingly well under the circumstances. So if I had to pick the one thing, what do we need to do to achieve full recovery after we talk about vaccination, getting a break, the world opening up, consumer confidence coming back? Government, and unfortunately provincially, and I say this as a born and raised in New Brunswick. I'm not coming in somebody else's backyard and being critical, but the New Brunswick government have been absent in the process. They need to wake up, and we all need to pull our heads out of the sand and accept the fact that this is going to pass. That's predictable. It will come. And we need to be working on a plan and be ready to activate and be courageous and bold enough to execute it when that time comes. And again, without poking fingers or pointing blame, this industry is struggling hugely. Without the support of the federal government, we'd all be dead now, and there wouldn't be an industry. However, in that federal government support, it has been primarily a rifle approach, which I'll say, well, let's hit everybody. Let's treat a hotel the same as a restaurant, as a commercial landlord, or a hardware store, or a hair salon. And as I referenced earlier, that's not the case. It is much more difficult than that in the hospitality business. I'm sure if we had some folks that wanted to jump in and criticize my comment, that well, wait a minute, there's a hospitality sector relief program, which was a derivative of the BCAP program originally announced in the spring. Well, BCAP didn't work for hospitality, and HASCAP, as it's known, has its challenges for hospitality operators, ourselves and our peers in the group, because it's debt. And this isn't, we're not selling iPhones here with 90% profit margins. We're in a highly seasonal and volatile sector. We have low margins, and debt is debt. And to be, taking a problem today and turning it into a problem down the road isn't solving the problem. It's just putting a Band-Aid on it. So I think as a group, we've all done what we can do. Certainly in our shop, we have felt the pain. We have done the unthinkable. And we've all rolled our sleeves up, and we understand that this is a marathon, not a sprint. But we need to get some support back from the provincial governments. Property tax is an easy one to pick on when we do business in 5 different provinces. New Brunswick has been moot on property taxes until very recently, when they decided that they're going to take an across-the-board cut of 25% on our valuations for the current tax year. Well, that's great, and it's a step in the right direction, but they're 365 days late on it. We had to pay our bill in full. I referenced the dollar amount earlier for what we pay in the province of New Brunswick. And let me pause for a second. What did Nova Scotia do? What did PEI do? What have some of the other jurisdictions done? They were all much more proactive. Nova Scotia, which is economically probably in the same boat that we would be in New Brunswick, initially came out and said you can take your property tax bill and split it over 24 months and then interest free. And then they came back and said, no, if you pay it, we'll give you a 25% cash discount for the year 2020 that had already passed. New Brunswick, or in the early days, we were hoarding our cash, not knowing how this was going to end in April, May, June, July, very scary times. The federal relief programs were not in place at that time. We did not pay our property tax bills out of a survival instinct in the spring. We did pay them in the fall. Our banking partners and our brand partners required it to be done. We realized the world wasn't going to end, and it was the right thing to do. Not that I was expecting a thank you letter from the taxing authorities. However, I certainly wasn't expecting an interest bill for $80,000 at a time when, as you can appreciate, that was a hard pill to swallow. So to our friends in Fredericton, we are the industry. We pulled the white flag. We are the hardest hit. We're the one in the most trouble. We need your help and support. We're not against you. We want to work with you, but you need to work with us. And collectively we'll solve this problem and emerge with it. The old adage, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. So we've got some challenges. We're not out of the woods yet by any means. We haven't started, but I think we all understand that the starting point is not that far away now. So we need to be ready to run on the field when they call our name. And I think that's probably what we're going to see as an industry. But beyond the shadow of a doubt, that is the biggest thing in the hospitality world right now, is how can we work with government to help each other as we move forward.
Thank you so much, Jeff. You've touched on so many things that actually TIMB is working on a lot of them. You mentioned the labor shortage, and labor shortage was so awful before COVID, and now there's been over 520,000 people that we've lost in the tourism business in Canada. So we're continuing to work on labor shortage efforts and many, many more. So thank you very much. And we can talk a bit more about this after the presentations are finished if we've got time. So now our next presenter is Kathy Weir. And Kathy and her family have been owners and operators of the year-round business Broadleaf Ranch in Albert County. Kathy's extensive tourism experience includes many years of growing their year-round accommodations, adventure, and catering tourism business in rural New Brunswick. As well as being past president of the Albert County Tourism Association, she was also past president of Tie&B, operating a successful tourism business over nearly 50 years with all the uncontrolled circumstances that impact it, including COVID-19, produces insights that are to be discussed and shared, which is why Kathy was eager to join us today. So Kathy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Carol. I feel very privileged to be included in this panel today. Just a little update. We are a family-owned and operated business. We are located between the Hopewell Rocks and Fundy National Park, so we're privileged to be in that area of our province. Being a family-owned business, there's 7 children who grew up in the business of Broadleaf. And being a family, you can all imagine growing up working in business with your siblings and the challenges of priorities that adds, but also it causes us over the 50 years that we've been in this business to make quick and sometimes difficult decisions, as Jeff just mentioned as well. It causes us to retool some of the process that we use and sometimes some of the products, facing obstacles that require the business sometimes to take a side road to get us to our preferred destination. And COVID is certainly an example of one of these situations that have caused businesses to make adjustments. Our business has accommodation sector, so we have mountain chalet, cabins, glamping units, dormitories, campground. Our accommodation sector business was down about 17% overall for the year. That would have been much worse had it not been for the Atlantic bubble to get opened up. So we saw a big change when the Atlantic bubble opened up, and also when the 20% rebate program was offered to residents of New Brunswick. We saw a big change there. So we were thankful for those 2 opportunities. Our catering business, which we have a 250-seat restaurant, obviously suffered the most. We were down over 50% in that line of business for the ranch, both by losing all of our group reservations. Our table service had to be changed and all of that. The other sector that we are involved in is the adventure. And how did COVID affect our adventure business? We actually had a 10% increase, and that's from people wanting to get out and do activities. So whether it was horseback riding or wagon rides, hiking or biking, we have 7 kilometers of trail right here on the ranch. And we're also fortunate to have about 16 kilometers of the Trans-Canada Trail that goes right through our property. So people wanting to do that, canoeing as well. Although the lack of rain this year reduced the water level in the Shepparton River, so by midsummer we were no longer able to use the river, but we still have lots of space. Another impact on our business was certainly the increased stress. When you do budgeting and planning for investment or expansions or debt reduction, it's hard to plan for the unknown, and trying to stay on top of all the regulations and remain compliant with the new regulations, it required more time in the management details of our business, just to stay on top of that. Also increased training of staff. So as the we did our operational plan, and then as things changed within the province, we had to keep our operational plan updated, training staff to understand the changes and not only what they were, but why we were making them. And you needed to increase the encouragement and support of our staff, because they were nervous as well, wondering about the security of their jobs. And we've invested a lot in our staff for our particular lines of business, and we have great staff. So it was important to keep them encouraged. Around what mechanisms we use to cope, certainly the organizations we belong to, such as TINB, the Chamber, Equestrian Canada, New Brunswick Agriculture, the restaurant, the Canadian Restaurant Association. All of these organizations provided regular and current updates on the changes. And the government website obviously was good, but it was long, and sometimes it took a long time to go through those to understand them. So we really relied a lot on TIMB and the Chamber to keep us up to date in language we could understand. The increased training, reduced rates for training from that TIMB offered was very helpful to us. Having to change our occupational plan on a regular basis to keep it updated, we needed to make sure that how things happened were going to be happening right. We used our different management support that we have to help us through the pros and cons of the various programs that were being offered. We also use social media a lot. It was an inexpensive way to increase our marketing efforts with pictures and posts from customers, the ability to very quickly communicate new products, new availabilities, new ideas. It increased the interest and our sales. But one of the big coping mechanisms, I think, in our business was staying close to our customer. We needed to hear what their challenges were, what they were looking for. It was a closer market, obviously, and we needed to know what it was they were looking for, because we wanted to stay true to our mission, and that is inspiring guests to make a memorable experience in all 4 seasons. So the fact that we're operating year round, and the ability to stay close to our customers to hear what their comments are. The biggest challenge right now, I really believe, is the stress of the unknown, or the fear of the unknown, as it can be. You can think that things are looking great, your reservations are coming in, and it looks like we're going to be okay. And then all of a sudden something changes and it feels like the rug is pulled out from under you. So that stress is a challenge, and needing to stay positive for the business and for the staff and for our customers. We have to keep our customers informed about the different restrictions. Some of them don't understand what zones are all about, or the bubble, or who their steady 10 has to be. And from a business perspective, we have to be very on top of that, because we can't afford fines. And in fairness to the customers, some of them don't understand it, but some of them also just don't care. They've been in long enough and they want out. So that's a challenge right now. Moving forward, I think, as David Campbell mentioned earlier today, full recovery isn't something any of us are going to see in 2021 in this sector, but we need to focus headed that way. So for us, if the Atlantic bubble can open again, that will head us in the right direction. Certainly, as Jeff mentioned, things like the wage subsidy, that was a big help for our business, because we needed to keep our staff, and we had to make sure that the investment we've made in our key employees over the years, we needed to keep them. And seasonal staff rely on us for employment just as much as we rely on them. So we were one of the businesses that actually found great value in the wage subsidy for employment. As Jeff mentioned also about the free loans, when companies are debt heavy, adding loan is not a great thing for the long term, but for some companies, it was the only way of staying on top. The CEBA obviously is helpful. And in that line, like we need to continue with the support from ACOA and from ONB. They were right on top of their game this year. Certainly our experience was where they allowed interest. If you paid your interest, that was what they were hoping. And then you only paid that. And then hopefully we could get back to our principal payments in 2021. I'm not sure that's going to be an easy thing to do. So moving forward, continued support from them. I don't think operators are looking to wipe out loans. They just need a break for another year. COVID isn't a one-year effect. And as the previous sessions today have said, 2021 is probably the same as 2020 for a lot of us. And we need to be able to stay the survival mode for another year till the economy allows people to move around, spend money, and live. So those are my thoughts anyway.
Thank you so much, Kathy. That was actually great. And you know, when you say staying positive, it's really hard to stay positive, but we need to stay positive, and we need to be prepared for when the borders open. I mean, we see, like, come September, October, when we're vaccinated, that there's going to be an onslaught of people wanting to travel, and we need to be ready. So we are working very hard on a recovery plan. And as a matter of fact, we are meeting with MPs across the country. We've got 50 meetings so far booked to discuss the TIAC recovery plan. So TIMB is there to help. So moving forward, our final panelist is Luc Leblanc. Luc est né à McKendricks, au Nouveau-Brunswick. Comédien, humoriste et animateur. Il roule sa bosse depuis maintenant 30 ans. Son talent et sa passion lui auront permis de voyager un peu partout au Canada et à l'international. Bien enraciné en Acadie, il est également directeur général et artistique du Pays de la Sagouine, où il incarne d'ailleurs le rôle de citrouille depuis 25 ans. Luc?
Oui, merci beaucoup. Merci à vous, Carole. Merci de nous inviter, le Pays de la Sagouine, ce matin, aujourd'hui. Nous, on a peut-être un double problème dans toute cette pandémie-là. Ce qui nous a affecté, je dirais, au maximum, c'est le fait qu'on est un site touristique qui accueille les francophones et les anglophones. Mais majoritairement, notre produit est francophone. Et dans une province où c'est majoritairement anglophone, quand on ferme les frontières du Québec et de l'international, etc., ça a un impact direct sur une compagnie comme la nôtre. Le Pays de la Sagouine également est un lieu où c'est interactif. Les gens viennent chez nous pour vivre une expérience, ils se baignent dans la culture acadienne, ils vivent une expérience interactive où les comédiens, les personnages vont directement parler aux gens. Et c'est pourquoi les gens adorent ce qu'on fait au Pays de la Sagouine. C'est très différent en partie que d'aller voir une pièce de théâtre dans un théâtre qui, eux aussi, sont affectés énormément en ce moment. Donc, on crée cette expertise-là, nous, depuis des années. On forme des gens depuis des années. Et là, quand est arrivée cette pandémie-là, il fallait réduire notre personnel. C'est devenu très, très, très difficile. Parce que comment on fait? Si on laisse aller des gens, et déjà, il y a des gens qui ont changé de métier, pas changé de métier, mais qui ont dû se réorienter parce que tout le monde doit travailler. Comme par exemple, ceux qui font nos décors. Les décors d'une pièce de théâtre, bien là, on a été obligé d'annuler nos spectacles pour l'année 2020. Et puis, ces gens-là se sont tournés vers la construction, rénovation de maisons, parce que ça avait un boom. Et nous, au pays de la Sagouine, on n'avait pas d'emploi pour eux. Est-ce qu'on va les revoir, ces gens-là, qui sont une expertise qu'on ne trouve pas partout, qu'on ne trouve pas... Ça, c'est un défi énorme pour nous. Comment la COVID-19 nous a affecté notre business l'année passée? C'est qu'on avait déjà investi de l'argent. On avait fait la vente de billets. Deux, on avait commencé à travailler sur certaines productions. Donc, on avait investi de l'argent qui, à ce moment-là, on devait annuler. Donc, on a fait ce qu'on appelle on n'a pas annulé, mais ça va nous frapper en 2021. On a reporté des spectacles en se disant, là, peut-être qu'en 2021, les choses changeront et on pourra, à ce moment-là, jouer. Et là, ce n'est pas le cas. En 2021, on voit clairement que ce n'est pas le cas. Et on doit rembourser les billets pour refaire. Donc, nous, en 2021, on va avoir un défi énorme et c'est là qu'on aura besoin, parce que ce que Cathy disait tantôt ou Jeff, nous, on a eu de l'aide du fédéral aussi avec le Wage Subsidy. Et Wage Subsidy a fait en sorte qu'on a pu continuer au pays de la Sagouine. Mais en 2021, jusqu'à présent, on entend que ça va seulement jusqu'au mois de juin, le Wage Subsidy. Donc, qu'est-ce qu'on va faire? Si on n'a pas de l'aide extra du Nouveau-Brunswick, est-ce qu'on va devoir mettre du monde à pied? Là, puis ce n'est pas ce qu'on veut, puis ça va dans la même idée que ce que je disais tantôt, c'est qu'on a cette expertise-là. On a créé un groupe au pays de la Sagouine qui est un petit groupe, mais qui travaille très bien ensemble et qui se remplace très difficilement. Ça va être difficile de remplacer ces gens-là, donc on ne veut pas les perdre. Par rapport à quel mécanisme qu'on a utilisé dans ces circonstances-là, on s'est assis comme équipe, puis on a regardé ce qu'on faisait au pays de la Sagouine. Ce qu'on a fait, c'est qu'on a dit, OK, voici ce qu'on a au niveau de ce qu'on fait habituellement, puis on va essayer de le faire d'une façon réduite. Donc, c'est ce qu'on a fait. On a fait 4 représentations par jour. Notre but était de viser l'excellence qu'on a toujours eu au pays de la Sagouine, tout en continuant avec respectant les normes COVID, qui n'étaient pas évident. Donc, on a fait la même affaire pour cette année, 2021. On va avoir des spectacles pour les gens en soirée. On va avoir des spectacles de Noël, mais tout ça dans des salles réduites. Donc, je vais conclure parce que je sais qu'on prend beaucoup de temps. Puis, qu'est-ce qu'on a besoin, nous autres, pour arriver à faire tout ça? Bien, moi, je crois qu'on aura définitivement, si le Nouveau-Brunswick avait un plan COVID, il y en a un plan COVID, mais un plan COVID financier. Peut-être que c'est juste pour 1 an, peut-être que c'est juste pour 2 ans, qui viendrait avoir un surplus à ce qui nous aide présentement. Nous, ça nous permettrait de ne pas s'enfoncer dans des dettes, parce que le pays de la Sagouine est à but non lucratif, mais en même temps, il faut être responsable. Donc voilà, c'est pour nous, parce que je sais qu'on a beaucoup d'autres choses qui s'en viennent, mais le pays de la Sagouine, on est très fiers de ce qu'on offre et on a hâte à l'avenir, on a un peu peur, parce qu'il va falloir ouvrir ces frontières-là, puis est-ce que les gens vont revenir? Ça, c'est nos inquiétudes qu'on a. Est-ce que les gens du Québec vont revenir ou ils vont rester au Québec? On verra, mais pour l'instant, on a eu un appui incroyable de la communauté. On a travaillé avec la communauté de Bouctouche, les communautés environnantes, puis voisines. Et puis, c'est ce qu'on souhaite faire pour 2021 et si ça continue pour 2022.
Merci beaucoup, Luc. Et malheureusement, on n'a pas de temps pour les questions, mais sois encouragé, Luc, que dans le programme de Roland de l'Association touristique du Canada, on demande pour 85% du wage subsidy pour continuer pour les hardest hit, pour continuer au moins jusqu'à la fin de l'année. Ça fait, on est en train de rencontrer toutes les MPs du Canada pour essayer de leur encourager d'avoir ça dans le budget. Alors, this is all the time we have. So I sincerely thank Jeff Appleton of DP Murphy Group, Kathy Weir of Broadleaf Ranch, and Luc Leblanc of Pays de la Sagouine for participating in today's panel. So I now hand over to John for some comments and close because I think we're running a little late. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being here with you. Merci beaucoup.
Thanks very much, Carol. Luc, Kathy, et Jeff, merci beaucoup. Sorry we didn't have time for questions there. We maybe could have expanded a couple of these panels by 15 minutes or so. And we will definitely be watching closely the tourism and hospitality sector this year, and here's hoping for a fairly normal summer. We will be back right after the break with our last sector panel, this one focusing on retail. So we'll see you in 5 minutes. Thanks.